Undercover CEO discovers warehouse worker eating from the trash. What he does next changes everything. Oliver Grant had built his company from scratch. A decade ago, he was the one lifting boxes, making deliveries, and negotiating deals. Now, with multiple warehouses under his belt, he spent most of his days in boardrooms, trusting managers to handle operations. But lately, something fell off. Customer complaints were rising, shipments were delayed, and employee turnover was through the roof. The report from his regional managers painted a perfect picture, but Oliver wasn't convinced. So, he decided to go undercover in one of his own warehouses. What he discovered left him shocked and determined to change everything. Stay tuned for this powerful story. And if you find it meaningful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life lessons that inspire change. An undercover CEO's eye-opening experience. Disguising himself as a new trainee named Owen, Oliver swapped his usual sharp business attire for an old hoodie, worn-out jeans, and thick-rimmed glasses. He applied for a position at the warehouse farthest from company headquarters, where no one had met him in person. To his surprise, the hiring process was almost non-existent. No background check, no real training, just a rushed introduction from the shift supervisor before being handed a scanner and told, "Stick with the others and don't mess up." The warehouse was a chaotic mess. Forklifts sped around recklessly, boxes were stacked dangerously high, and workers looked exhausted. Some moved like robots, others whispered complaints under their breath. His first assignment was sorting inventory with a small team, and that's where he met Jake. Jake was in his early 20s, with tired eyes and a uniform 2 sizes too big. Despite looking worn out, he worked twice as hard as everyone else. But something about him seemed off. He flinched whenever the supervisor walked by and kept checking the clock like he was counting the seconds until his next break. During lunch, Oliver sat back and observed. Most workers had packed meals or microwaved instant noodles. But Jake had nothing. He sat alone, staring at the vending machine as if debating whether to spend his last few dollars. Then, Oliver saw it. Jake glanced around cautiously, making sure no one was watching, then walked over to a trash bin near the break area. He reached in and pulled out half a sandwich, still wrapped in paper. He carefully unwrapped it, inspecting it like it was a prized possession, then took a small bite, chewing slowly, savoring every moment as if he hadn't eaten in hours. Oliver's heart sank. He could see the quiet desperation in Jake's eyes, the way his shoulders slumped as if the weight of survival itself rested on them. The idea of one of his employees having to dig through the trash for food in a company he owned sent a shockwave of guilt and anger through him. He walked over and kept his voice low. "Hey man, you okay?" Jake froze mid-bite, eyes wide with panic. "I wasn't stealing. It was already thrown away," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he expected to be punished. Oliver's stomach turned. "You don't have food?" Jake hesitated, then shrugged, his expression a mix of shame and resignation. "I get paid Friday. Just gotta make it till then." Oliver sat beside him. "You don't have money for food?" Jake let out a hollow laugh. "Not after rent. Not after paying off what I owe." He looked away, avoiding eye contact, as though admitting it made it worse. "It's fine. I've done worse." Oliver's gut clenched. This was not fine. Before Oliver could respond, a voice barked across the room. "Jake, break's over." Jake quickly stuffed the sandwich into his pocket and hurried off, his movements sharp with fear. Oliver watched him go, his mind racing. He had come here expecting to see mismanagement, but what he had found was something far worse. This wasn't just inefficiency. This was a system that ground people down until they had nothing left. And Oliver was going to change that. Underscore. Underscore. exposing a corrupt system. As Oliver worked alongside the employees, he quickly realized that the warehouse was massively understaffed. Orders piled up faster than they could be processed. The supervisors shouted orders but did little to help, barely lifting a finger while the workers toiled endlessly. Some employees were running between stations to keep up, others took shortcuts just to avoid backlash, and no one had a moment to breathe. Then, the real problem became clear. Management was treating workers like disposable machines. At one point, a worker named Luis accidentally dropped a box. The shift supervisor, Carl, stormed over, his face already twisted in frustration. "Are you serious, Luis? You think we have time for this?" Luis scrambled to pick up the items. "It slipped, I don't want to hear it. That's coming out of your paycheck." Oliver froze. Wait, what? He had expected harsh conditions, but stealing wages over minor accidents? That was unacceptable. "That's not right," he said before he could stop himself. Carl turned on him, eyes narrowing. "You got something to say, rookie?" Oliver forced himself to stay calm. "This seems like an accident. Shouldn't the company cover that?" Carl scoffed, crossing his arms. "Company doesn't pay for screw-ups. You break it, you buy it." Luis kept his head down, his frustration evident, but he didn't argue. Oliver could see why. No one wanted to risk their job by speaking up. Later, Oliver caught up with Jake during a break, his stomach still churning over what he had seen. "That happen often?" he asked casually, though he already knew the answer. Jake let out a bitter laugh. "Happened to me last month. A whole pallet tipped over. Carl blamed me. Took half my paycheck to cover damages." Oliver's jaw clenched. This wasn't just bad management. This was outright exploitation. But what Jake said next made Oliver's blood run cold. "That's not even the worst part," Jake muttered, glancing around before lowering his voice. "They cut our hours randomly, but when you're desperate, Carl offers a pay advance. Problem is, it's not a real advance. It's a loan, and the interest is brutal. Fall behind, and suddenly you owe him more than you can ever pay back. Then guess what? Your hours get cut again, and you're stuck." Oliver's chest tightened. This wasn't just unfair wages. It was a predatory system designed to keep workers trapped in debt, dependent on Carl's so-called help while barely scraping by. This wasn't just bad policy or corporate negligence. This was corruption happening right under his nose. And Oliver was about to put an end to it. Lessons learned from this story. Keycap 1. A true leader doesn't just stay in the boardroom. Back-end index pointing right, Oliver once trusted reports from his managers. But the truth only came to light when he saw things firsthand. A great leader doesn't just manage from a distance. They immerse themselves in reality, working alongside employees to understand what's really going on. Keycap 2. Silence allows injustice to continue. Back-end index pointing right, if Oliver hadn't stepped in, the exploitation of workers and payroll manipulation would have continued. Many people stay silent out of fear of losing their jobs, but that silence only empowers the wrongdoers. Change only happens when someone is brave enough to speak up. Keycap 3. No one should have to work in fear. Backhand index pointing right, a workplace isn't just a place to earn money. It should be a space where employees are treated with dignity and respect. No one deserves to have their wages unfairly deducted or be trapped in a cycle of debt. A successful company is one that values its people above all else. Keycap 4. Power comes with responsibility. Back-end index pointing right, when Oliver uncovered the truth, he didn't just fire those responsible. He restructured the entire management system. A leader cannot prioritize profits over people. Success should never come at the cost of worker exploitation. Underscore. The powerful message in this story. Fire leadership isn't just about giving orders, it's about protecting what's right. A good leader doesn't only focus on results, but also on how those results are achieved. Fire, don't let fear stop you from speaking up. If you see injustice, have the courage to call it out. One small action can change countless lives. Fire compassion in business isn't a weakness, it's a strength. A truly successful company doesn't drain its employees. It empowers them to thrive. Underscore, 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 underscore. This story is a powerful lesson on ethical leadership. Had Oliver continued to trust reports without verifying them, his company would have kept running on a toxic, exploitative system. It proves that what's on paper doesn't always reflect reality. The world needs more responsible leaders, people who are willing to face the truth and take action to correct injustices. If each of us commits to standing up for what's right, we can create fairer and more humane workplaces. Underscore, 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 underscore. Light bulb if this story resonated with you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Talk Story. Pushpin, hit the subscribe button now to receive meaningful, inspiring videos that teach valuable lessons from real-life stories. Fire Talk Story, where every story holds a powerful lesson. Rocket Bell.